poison is isolated in the fat and doesn't move out into the body. It doesn't hit the bloodstream. And then, of course, the pig eats the snake and it's all over anyway. Yeah, I mean, because that's what pigs do.
So
but
when you're using a lard, then how are you decocting it?
I usually, right now, it's easiest to do it in a crock pot on warm. Just throw it in there and decoct it for, for the salve.
Yeah.
Yeah, anywhere from 6 to 12 hours. And, on warm in the crock pot, it doesn't get too hot for the fats.
Yeah.
There's some good YouTube videos on how to render fat.
There you go. Well,
YouTube.
He's rendering fat.
Yeah.
You don't want to overheat it.
Yeah, you
Right,
don't
exactly,
overheat
right,
it. You
yeah.
want to just melt it. And warm on the crock pot will do that. Even low, if you're paying attention and minding it, low will be okay too. But since I'm not minding mine, I'm putting it in there and leaving it. It'll be warm.
What about like putting it into yogurt makers and letting it cook in those? I've done some stuff that way.
I don't know if it would get warm enough in the yogurt maker to really extract it. It needs to be a little bit hotter than that. Yeah. And the other thing about lard is wherever you put it on your skin, it stays there. That's the other isolating factor about lard. Where olive oil heats up when the body temperature it runs. Pig fat, you put it on your wrist, it stays on your wrist.
I'd use the oven to render it apart.
But you
Like
guys,
a second
last
40 oven, and that way it doesn't.
maybe it's the
overheat.
batter.
No.
Because
Okay.
as soon as you heat it too much and it gets that nasty smell to it.
It's no good. Sometimes it might well throw it out. Yeah.
You got me thinking about the long decoctions. When you make beer, you boil hops for an hour.
Oh, there you go.
And if you don't get those alpha acids out of the hop tones. If you don't boil for a long time, it's really not very soluble in water.
Oh, that's good to know. I think the only kind of European tradition I've found close to the Southern decoction method is the original Bach flour way, the cooking method of the Bach flour. Because he would take his little gas stove out to the fields and he would cook the flour or the stem or the leaf, open pot for 30 minutes. Yeah, and that's the original Bach flour. I mean, he did do some sun method on some very tender flours, but the majority of the remedies are done with a boiling method, if you care to research that. And that's a good 30-minute decoction with the lid off. And he boiled it down, and that was the mother tincture. I mean, he made the mother, then he mixed that half with alcohol. Whatever, the same volume of...
That makes the mother tincture, right?
Right, half makes the mother tincture. So, I mean, so that is like, that's the closest to the Southern decoction method I've found in any of the literature is Bach flour.
Yeah, but I think in general the English cook their food a lot more than the ones over here. Having food and something.
Well, that was considered kind of unusual for his time period, that he was boiling this up for 30 minutes. And I don't know if that was a tradition he read about or picked up, or if this was an intuitive method. Or his mom did. We don't know, but it wasn't part of the herbal tradition at the time period. It was something that he was doing because they were going. Some of the literature I've read, people were questioning why he was cooking it so long, why he cooked it down so much, and he would fill the pot about 3/4 full of plant material, and then cover that with water, so the plant material was just covered with water, and that was cooked down. So you can see how strong it's got to be. It's kind of like Tommy made salve. Tommy Bass, when he made salve, he didn't do it in the crock pot. He did it in the turkey. Well, originally we did it in an iron pot.
Yeah.
Right? Built a fire under it. The pig fat went in. But then later, somebody bought him a turkey cooker. Hooked it up to the gas. I have made salve like this so much with Tommy. And he used fresh herbs. So whatever he decided to make the salve was whatever was growing. And we would go out and gather the herbs. And the turkey, all the lard is going like rolling boil in the turkey. And we stuff all the green herbs in, and he boiled them up for about 20 to 30 minutes. And then he had this big old giant screen wire thing that he scooped. When he turned the heat off, he scooped all the plant material out and threw it away. It was crispy fried. I'm not kidding. It was hard, crispy fried. But his salve was amazing. His salve was like famous. His salve cured skin cancer and bed sores. I mean, people. He just called, Bass's salve. He was famous for this salve that he cooked like this, and then I've done this in my class, and herbalists have been taught salve making other places are like going, this cannot, this is so foreign that we're getting this so hot, and the herbs are going in fresh. But when they go in fresh, because normally you have to let your herbs dry to make salve, right? Because you don't want moisture in your salve, it's going to make your salve spoil. But when you crispy fry them in that rolling fat, all the moisture is gone, right? His salve kept forever. His pork salve would keep about a year, and it worked amazingly well. So there's a lot of different ways to do anything, and you just got to find what works for you.
I wanted to clarify that turkey cooker, was that the big pot?
Yeah.
Not the roaster?
No, it's the big pot, and then you had
propane under it.
Propane under it, filled it full of lard, stuff, herbs down in there with a stick. We got a stick, and we stuffed those.
It's almost like a gallon pot.
Yeah, it is. Because we're making salve for him himself. Tommy sold the salve at the flea market. It was a big place. And at the Indian powwows, and people would just come driving up to buy it. Because it was that famous. So it was this famous salve that the FDA came and visited him about and wrote up letters about, because he said on his label, Bass salve cures skin cancers and whatever else goes. And that was, and the ingredients varied. There would be 2 and 3 ingredients that would be the same, but then everything else was seasonal. Like, summer cedar's growing, let's put that in. Or here's some black walnut, throw that in. So they kind of vary too. And so we got a letter from the FDA, and the FDA said, you have to cease and desist, or it's going to be a $10,000 fine. You're making unsubstantiated claims. And so Tommy was like, he'd never seen $10,000. I mean, this is the man that lived in a shack. He was a very poor herbalist, never charged for consultations. One year, he saw 2,000 people, let me tell you. And did some consultations. But he never charged for his consultations, but he did charge for the herbs they were away with, that was the way it was.
Tradition.
Yeah, that's tradition. So anyway, then he got a second letter, because he didn't cease and desist. So he got a second letter from the FDA, more strong wording, and it was like $10,000 fine and so many years in jail. And Tommy is getting really upset because, like I say, he'd never seen $10,000, never expected to see $10,000 in his life. And at this point in time, he was probably 70. He was like, oh Lord, am I going to die in jail for making my salve? So then they sent an agent out to talk to him, and it was a woman, and she was very nice. Totally not like stories I've heard about FDA agents since. And Tommy lived on top of a mountain, no neighbors close by. He never drove, he never learned how to drive. He got around on a bicycle or somebody picked him up. And you had to know where he lived to get there, because it was like crooked mountain. Right, that was it. I mean, it probably took 2 days just to find how to get there down all the mountain roads and at the end of the gravel road. And for spare money, he worked on small appliances, so his yard was littered with refrigerators, wash machines, stoves, and then he had a room with toasters, and irons, and all these small appliances. So it was a junk yard. You drove up and it was a junk. So anyway, she came in and she said, talked to him, and she was very nice. And she said, Mr. Bass, you're going to have to stop making these claims on your salve. He said, am I going to have to stop making my salve? She said, you have to stop making the claims on your salve. And so, and she said, if you'll do that, we'll just drop this case. There won't be a fine. There won't be, you won't have to go to jail. You know, you won't be arrested. So he said, okay, I can do that. So this is what Tommy did. He still had his jar of bath, and it still said Bass's salve on it. But he took a piece of plywood and he hand printed on the piece of plywood. The FDA says, I can't say this cure cancer, but I knows what I knows. And he carried this sign with him everywhere. And he would prop it up and there would be a salve. And he would say, it's not on the label.
How about sheets you could write down, the FBI says I cannot say this is for skin cancer. Takes care of all the problems.
Right, he totally figured out how to do it. And he carried this on at his house, and he was like, he said, I'm clear now. They say I can't say it, I'm not saying it, but that's what it means.
You can do that for everything.
Right. I know,
The
it's pretty
FDA
smart.
says this is not for eczema.
Right.
Solve that problem. Let's see, that's most of true solvent seal and then the false solvent seal, but I want to mention Tickle's favorite combination, which I have never made because it's not in herbal commerce. Solvent seal is in herbal commerce. It's both Chinese medicine and in an herb store generally. But he liked to put in that rubbing alcohol, the Indian peanut or groundnut, or even pig nut. The Latin name is Apios, A-P-I-O-S. It's a little legume with 3 leaves that grows in shade, very much in shade. It has a little white peanut kind of on it. And he liked to put that, and I did have people who really liked that for the joints better than solvent seal by itself. And he said it's a real gluey. And solvent seal is kind of gluey. And he said this makes it even more gluey. It glues the joints together. And since that time, I just gave up on trying to. Now I actually found some good Apios in the forest and friend's land. But it's just something you got to dig yourself. It's never in commerce, But I have found that combining it with marshmallow is a really good method, and that's got that kind of gluey quality to it. But marshmallow also is lubricating to the bursa and things like that, lubricating to the joints. So it's a nice combo that way. And then there's the chickweed combo. The chickweed is moistening, but more in the interstitial fluids, or the matrix. That's the compartment that surrounds everything. So we live in an inner ocean. Under our skin is an inner ocean that we're surrounded by, and it has a meshwork all through it, and that's collagen fibers, and it's really important. It's actually an organ system in and of itself, and so when people have eczema, psoriasis, erysipelas, even poison ivy, it's kind of like an attack on that. Its symptoms having to do with the extracellular matrix, and when I started using Barbara's amazing salve, I realized that this was a remedy that it was acting on the interstitial fluids, on the extracellular matrix, because you could immediately feel it just kind of this tingle under your skin all over. And where you put it.
So it's a lymphatic then?
That's the headwaters of the lymph, because the lymph drain out of that. So this is actually where, when we say bad blood, like the blood is more buffered, it's not the blood, but this is where toxins build up and stuff. And why people get, so you get eczema, psoriasis, acne. It might be a skin problem per se, or it might be what's under the skin. So this is kind of where